The internet can't decide whether you are boyfriend, daddy, dad.
But do you think it's safe to say that Reed is the first capital D daddy in the MCU?
We need to have a conversation about what on earth is going on with celebrity interviews, because I have had enough. If you've been on the internet recently, then you may have noticed the growing trend of these painfully awkward celebrity interview moments that have the actors looking like they'd rather be anywhere else. And here's the reason why. Influencers. Not all of them, but we'll get to that later, but influencers, TikTokers, reality TV stars, people who have never held a microphone outside of filming a Get Ready With Me video. These are the people now being invited to sit and interview some of the biggest stars on the planet, not because they're good at it, not because they have insightful questions, but because these studios have realized that one viral clip on TikTok is now more valuable than 10 thoughtful articles by trained journalists. And the result of this is just chaos, because we now have these multi-million-dollar press interviews being completely derailed by influencers asking stupid questions like these.
Wait, gay son or daughter?
Sorry?
Pick one, gay son or daughter.
Oh my god.
Period.
I'm sorry, does no one involved have the self-awareness to realize how embarrassing this actually is? And the worst part is, this isn't even a one-off situation, this is becoming the norm. Studios are actively inviting people that have no background in journalism, no understanding of interviewing, and sometimes no basic sense of self-awareness into these highly controlled press environments purely because they might get a viral TikTok out of it. And listen, I get it, social media is so important and traditional media has to adapt, but this isn't adapting. This is selling out the entire concept of film journalism for the sake of a 30-second viral clip. The whole concept of the press junket used to be about giving journalists access to talent so that they could craft thoughtful and respectful interviews. There was a solid structure to it, and now that is all gone. Instead of getting a proper sense of the film, we're now getting influencers asking Oscar winners, what's your favorite emoji? Or worse, if you had to eat one of your co-stars, who would it be and why? The part of this that genuinely terrifies me is that it's not just influencers doing this. We have now shifted so far into this TikTok market that we now have trained, experienced journalists asking questions like these.
So we're starting off with a really serious question. What's it like to be both hot and funny?
Yeah, guys.
Couldn't tell you.
It literally makes my skin crawl. So guys, in today's video, we're diving deep into the rise of influencer interviews and asking the big question, is there any hope left for celebrity interviews as we know them? And the only way to figure that out is by watching some of the most painfully awkward celebrity interview moments, so buckle up because it is just about to get worse from here.
Daddy?
Daddy.
Daddy?
Daddy.
Daddy?
Daddy.
Honestly, I wasn't planning on making a video on this topic, that is, until I stumbled upon the most painfully cringe, awkward interviews that are so bad they're impossible to forget. To give you some context, you've probably noticed the new Fantastic Four movie promotion everywhere lately, on products, on buses, and especially all over the internet. But unfortunately for Marvel, people online aren't talking about the trailers or the posters or, frankly, anything to do with the actual movie. They're talking about these painfully cringy interview moments that came out of the press tour. I'll show you the first one, but I have to warn you, it's really bad.
Well, jumping right into you, Vanessa, you've kind of become a social media icon for your force-filled, snatched, cunty, fierceness face.
Oh God.
How did you come
Yeah.
about to go into that
good
force
thing.
field? It's a good thing. It's a good thing.
It's good. It's good.
Okay.
Independent.
Promise.
I cannot believe the interviewer just said that with absolutely zero shame. Vanessa's reaction to this says absolutely everything. I mean, what an inappropriate thing to say in a professional interview. There are surprisingly some mixed reactions to this interview, so let me break this down for you because this is so much deeper than it looks. Firstly, hearing the way this interviewer speaks, there is no denying that she is chronically online and deep into Gen Z culture. Gen Z basically have their own slang with words like serving, giving face, and most recently, the C word, C-U-N-T-Y to be exact. These are usually said by women to hype each other up, like, oh my god, she's serving it. It's meant as a compliment. However, to the majority of people, especially in places like America, this word takes on a very different meaning. Not only is it considered one of the most offensive swear words that not even most parents would say, but it's historically been incredibly derogatory towards women. Yes, society has come a long way, but misogyny still exists, and these words still hold weight. Now, with that in mind, this interview is the perfect example of what happens when a chronically online person steps into the real world. How did she think it was a good idea to tell a middle-aged woman that she has a cunt face in the middle of a professional interview? Look, I will give her some leeway because she's Australian. I grew up in Australia, and that word to us is the same as calling someone a friend. Maybe she didn't realize how offensive it is to other people, but I'm sorry, but the fact that this was even allowed to be said in the first place is just ridiculous. And the craziest part about this is that she's a professional journalist. And do you know who else is a professional journalist?
But do you think it's safe to say that Reed is the first capital D daddy in the MCU?
Are there not other fathers in the
Oh, I mean
MCU?
daddy.
Oh,
Yeah,
daddy.
different to father.
Daddy?
Capital
no.
D.
Yeah, it's even worse the second time watching, but you guys have to understand that these cringy, parasocial, boundary-crossing moments came from people who actually studied for the job, and the craziest part is that this actually isn't their fault. It's the direct result of a much bigger shift happening in the entertainment industry, a shift that starts with one word: influencers. You see, a few years ago, something changed. Studios realized that by inviting influencers to big events, it guaranteed way more online buzz than the carefully polished interviews they had been relying on for years. This started as influencers being invited to things like red carpets, where they were allowed to free roam and basically do whatever they want. In other words, harass the talent. These TikToks were getting tens of millions of views, and once studios noticed the amount of people watching these videos, it sent shockwaves throughout the industry. Pretty soon after that, studios began to experiment, and this all started with what I would now confidently call their worst mistake. They handed influencers microphones. This first wave of influencer-led interviews mostly started on red carpets. You'd have these content creators who have no real understanding of the films or even the people they were speaking to suddenly being given access to something people studied years to do. Granted, there are respectful influencers who have done amazing red carpet interviews like Emma Chamberlain, but majority of the time, these influencers bombard the celebrities by doing stupid things like this.
One more question. Just to live my dreams, can you just say, Haley, wake up?
Of course I can. Haley, wake up.
At first, these videos were actually really funny. They were harmless, silly, and just a bit of TikTok fun, but the problem was, studios absolutely loved it. They loved the numbers, they loved the engagement, they loved the way these clips spread like wildfire across platforms. Suddenly, a red carpet moment wasn't about the event anymore, it was about creating these bite-sized viral moments. The problem with creating this type of content is that the creators will do absolutely anything to get this viral moment, and usually this is done in a very parasocial, tone-deaf way.
When I want to fight someone, I listen to your music.
Tearing up?
Because you want to throw that fight out the window and you want to get cute and be a bad. When people are talking, I go turn on Megan Thee Stallion. Body, yada, yada. I look beautiful. I look so great.
This has to be one of the worst ones yet, okay? So this interviewer is actually a comedian slash influencer named Hannah Berner, and she got so much backlash for this interview, and rightly so. First of all, Megan's music is all about body positivity, confidence, and female empowerment, so why was this interviewer saying that it makes her want to start fighting people? Not only that, but it's well known that Megan Thee Stallion is a victim of domestic violence. I mean, this interview was not long after Tory Lanez got sentenced 10 years for it. In the same year, she publicly said in a separate interview that fighting is so ugly. Now, any real journalist would have already known this because their job is to do research, so this is the exact issue of why we shouldn't put influencers in this position, because you know they're not doing any research whatsoever. They are strictly there to get viral clips, and they don't care if they embarrass themselves in the process. But do you think the big people in charge care about if their talent's uncomfortable? No, not at all, because they keep inviting this guy to every red carpet.
She is heaven sent. Sabrina, can I sing for you?
Go. No, we've been here before. No, no, no.
Gay son or thought daughter?
Gay son or thought daughter?
Billy.
Not you.
Girl, we go way back, sis.
No, go, no, I don't.
Okay, I'll admit that when he first started, this was actually really funny, but as it went on, it just became more and more uncomfortable, and you can tell by some of those reactions that even the celebrities are like, what the f is this kid doing here? How did he get past security? Most of them probably don't even realize that he was literally invited to harass them. As you can imagine, being a journalist in this situation is so frustrating, and some have even taken to the internet to voice their opinion, saying, journalists are out here in the trenches, we're battling weekly rounds of layoffs, abysmal wages and pay rates, and now TikTokers with no tact or media training whatsoever are set free to harass celebrities. But these types of TikTok clips just kept going viral, and the studios were just sitting there eating it up. They want the headlines, they want the chaos, they want the free publicity, even if it comes at the expense of their own talent's dignity. They wanted this so bad that one day an executive in a boardroom said, hey, why don't we invite these influencers to press junkets as well? Why not give them actual seats at the table next to real journalists, people who have spent their whole careers just trying to get there? And this is where things really started to spiral. Because when you take someone with no formal training and no interest in even learning the basics, you get this.
Timothy, we've got to talk about, obviously, Zendaya, she's a mate of yours. As a non-actor, right? I would find it so hard to, like, you've obviously got a relationship with somebody who is also your friend. It's not even like you don't know them, they're actually your friend. Is it easier or harder to, like, have a relationship on screen with somebody who you're actually pals with? Would you rather somebody you didn't know?
I really,
right?
There's no good answer to that. I feel it's just the nature of the job.
So this interviewer is influencer and former Made in Chelsea reality TV star Sam Thompson, who got a lot of backlash over this interview, which, I mean, rightly so. Asking a professional actor if it's easier or harder to have an on-screen romance with someone you're actually friends with is such a strange and invasive thing to ask. First of all, acting is literally their job. Their whole career is based on being able to portray believable relationships with people that they might not even know off camera. That's the entire point of the craft, so turning around and basically asking, isn't it awkward since you're actually friends with Zendaya, just feels really tone deaf. And honestly, this is exactly why giving influencers press junket access without any media training can go wrong, because this wasn't even just a bad question, it was a complete misunderstanding of acting as a whole. And the worst part of this specific situation is that many established journalists from proper film publications found themselves completely sidelined at this Dune Part 2 press junket. Staff at Letterboxd and Empire opened up about their frustration at not being given access to the cast, noting that influencers such as Sam Thompson were given a complete priority. These are real journalists, people who actually know how to conduct these interviews, who have spent years, if not decades, building relationships with people in the industry, practicing their craft and studying film, only to get pushed aside because some 22-year-old with a ring light and 1 million followers is seen as a better investment. The sad result of this change is that we're now seeing real journalists having to change their interview style to fit into this new TikTok format. If they want any shot at being invited to these press tours or having FaceTime with the cast, they have to play the game.
Back from Pedestrian TV, and I'm with Chris Pratt with the GYAT and MBB the MVP. How are you guys?
Okay, well, that's an intro.
Did she just call him Chris Pratt with a GYAT? For the lovely people who don't know what GYAT means, it's a Gen Z/Gen Alpha slang word that essentially means a reaction to seeing a woman with a big butt. To the majority of Gen Z, the word is just so cringe, and I don't think I've ever heard anyone use it in real life. So not only is this interviewer using the word in real life conversation, it also just doesn't make any sense. Chris Pratt with a GYAT? It reminds me of a parent who's trying to fit in with their kid, but they just keep getting it completely wrong. If you didn't put two and two together, this is actually the same lady who asked Vanessa Kirby how she feels about the internet saying that she has a snatched face. Let's hear what question she asked first, because I'm so sure it's going to be super deep and insightful.
That's an intro.
We love an intro, but we're gonna get serious right now.
Okay.
So, do you think robots go by star signs?
Robots go by star signs?
Wow, what an interesting question. I have always wanted to know if Chris Pratt thinks robots have star signs. Again, this person is a professional journalist, but she's been conditioned to asking these stupid TikTok questions because that's what studios want. Shareable viral content, not actual insight.
What were the challenges of going to work every day and lighting yourself on fire for this role?
And And the saddest part is, it's just making people lazy. A lot of newer journalists coming into the scene only know this TikTok style format, so they don't prep, they don't study the actor's work. They just show up, throw out something silly, and call it a day. Some of them are so lazy that they even use AI to write their questions for them.
And you filmed in Durdle Door in Dorset, I mean, is that right? On the Jurassic Coast?
That was Joseph, and that was Joseph.
Oh, you guys
It wasn't us.
weren't
Yeah, we looked at you
there.
blankly there.
AI is not the tool I thought it was for writing questions.
This man used AI to write his questions and didn't even fact check them before that. And not only that, but he admitted it in front of the cast. I can't. This is just so bad. I think that's one of the weirdest side effects of this TikTokification of interviews. They've just become so deeply parasocial. Like, have you noticed how so many interviewers feel weirdly comfortable calling male actors daddy to their face? It's been flooding my feed recently.
It feels amazing to be in the presence of two noted heartthrobs. We've got a daddy, we've got a zaddy. How does it feel?
Zaddy. A what? A who and a what?
A zaddy?
I'm sorry, but am I the only one who feels so uncomfortable watching this? And I hate the fact that it's framed like a compliment, like, oh my god, you're such a daddy, as if that's an acceptable thing to say to someone you're professionally interviewing. I'm pretty sure the origin of this daddy trend started in 2023 after this interview of Pedro Pascal went viral.
Who's a bigger daddy, you or this man, Oscar Isaac?
Although he's a real daddy, he's got kids and I don't. But daddy is a state of mind, you know what I'm saying? I'm your daddy.
This one joke completely snowballed into something that I don't even think he expected. For the next few years, in almost every interview, he was being called daddy, and no, that is not an exaggeration.
How you doing, daddy?
I'm alright, mama. I am your cool, slutty daddy.
Daddy?
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 Daddy.
In my opinion, this trend is what launched his mainstream popularity. Suddenly, he was getting more lead roles, most of which he was playing a father figure. As his popularity grew, so did the interviews and so did the daddy comments, which at first he seemed to encourage and play along. But again, this just makes me so uncomfortable. Just because he's being polite doesn't mean this behavior is acceptable or appropriate. He started this trend by referring to himself as daddy, which in my opinion kickstarted his popularity. So even if he didn't like these comments, of course he's not going to jeopardize it and push back. It's just such a weird and uncomfortable power shift. This trend got so out of control so quickly that even other celebrities were being asked about their thoughts on Pedro being a heartthrob, and no, I'm not joking.
Do you know Pedro Pascal? Because you guys are kind of
in
the daddy-verse together.
Pedro Pascal is daddy.
You both have a real love for Pedro Pascal.
Obsession over Pedro Pascal. What do you think it is about him that people are just captivated by?
You know, I think he's...
Did Pedro join the Illuminati or something? What is going on? You have a two-time Oscar winner in front of you, and instead of asking her a thoughtful question about her or her career, you ask her why she thinks Pedro Pascal is a heartthrob. Even she looks so over it. It's actually escalated to a point that even Pedro himself looks completely over it.
The internet has deemed you daddy, zaddy, and now baby girl, but I need to know, what would you like to be referred to as?
I don't know. Call me what you want.
The reason why I bring this up is because I've been noticing this really weird trend where interviewers will ask men these really inappropriate questions, which is strange because historically it's been women who have had to face that. The 90s and 2000s were absolute chaos when it came to celebrity interviews. Interviewers had no filter, asking the most invasive and downright offensive questions. I mean, we've all seen those cringe compilations on YouTube. Reporters would ask actresses about their diets, their sex lives, their love scenes, or even what they're wearing under their costumes, and they were expected to just sit there and take it with a smile because that was their job. Scarlett Johansson probably faced the worst case of this during her interviews for the Avengers movies. She was constantly asked questions like if she went on a diet to get in shape for the role, or if she was wearing underwear under her costumes. Meanwhile, in the same interviews, her male co-stars would be asked questions that were actually about their characters. It was such a horrible and misogynistic era of film and TV, but thankfully, those types of questions aren't tolerated anymore, unless you're a man. Now, don't get it twisted, I'm not saying that they're even on the same level at all, but the fact that these inappropriate questions seem to be escalating is alarming, because it started with calling celebrities daddy, but is quickly turning into questions like these.
Do you know Barry well? I know Barry, yeah. Okay, your reaction when you first saw the naked dance scene at the end of Saltburn?
No spoilers, please, though.
There was a lot of talk about prosthetics. how well do you know him? I don't know. Too much, too much.
This is by far one of the most inappropriate questions I've seen in a long time. I mean, how was this even allowed to be asked? This question was asked to actor Andrew Scott, who is an openly gay man, and on top of that, is not even in Saltburn with Barry Keoghan. So this interviewer just randomly asked Andrew what he thinks of another man's private parts purely for the fun of it. And this is what I mean by it's becoming a problem, because in today's society, it's wrong to ask women inappropriate questions like that. But at the same time, it's starting to become normalized for men. It's this strange, chronically online idea that the interviewer is entitled to break boundaries for the sake of content. It's just completely parasocial. What's even more frustrating is that it cheapens the work of the actor. Like, imagine dedicating years of your life to becoming a serious actor, and you've just worked so hard both physically and mentally to prepare for a role, only to sit down for an interview and have someone call you daddy whilst asking you what you think of Barry Keoghan's genitals. I mean, what are we doing here? And this influencer obsession just keeps escalating because it's not just press junkets that are suffering, it's movie promotion as a whole. We've officially entered the era where studios care less about promoting the actual story of the film and more about chasing random content that they think will go viral on TikTok. At the beginning, you could just tell that these studios had no idea how to work TikTok, and they would post these boring, awkward videos of the cast just introducing themselves, the types of videos that people on TikTok wouldn't find interesting. At a loss for what to do and with no real understanding of the platform, studios would soon come to the realization of, why don't we just use influencers? This started off with influencers being invited on trips called content days, where they would all line up and do a TikTok trend with the cast of the film. These videos would generate millions and millions of views and were kind of like a golden ticket for these studios. They would get these influencers to make these videos without paying them usually, and in return, the influencers get to have the celebrity appear on their channel. When you think about it, these studios are getting millions of dollars in free promotion. I mean, no wonder why they keep using them. This type of promotion was working so well for the studios that they began hiring their own social media professionals so that they could replicate it on their page. This then birthed a whole new wave of promotional content. It wasn't about generating interest in the story or the artistry or even the performances anymore. It was about generating engagement, full stop. Take the new Superman movie for example. Now, if you have seen any of the TikToks floating around, then you'll know exactly what I'm talking about. Instead of the traditional promotional clips where the cast talks about the tone of the film, the themes, their excitement, their process, you know, all the relevant information, instead we get these silly little TikTok clips. Their page gets filled with videos of the cast doing trending sounds, challenges, and lots of thirst traps. Which may sound weird, but the reason behind these thirst traps is actually genius. At the end of the day, their main goal is to get as many people to the theater as possible. They already had that built-in male audience who were excited for the reboot, plenty of women as well, myself included, but let's be real, the main demographic of them were male. The studio needed to come up with a plan on how to get more women to go and see this movie, and that's when someone on the team came up with the brightest idea. They were gonna post David Corenswet thirst traps all over TikTok like they were candy. I know these types of videos don't seem like your regular thirst traps, but trust me when I say that from a woman's perspective, they absolutely are, and I just know that a Gen Z girl was behind every one of them. It sounds ridiculous, but it definitely worked because the amount of TikToks I saw of women who were going to see the movie just because they thought he was hot. So this is the new wave of movie promotion, and it's quickly sweeping through every major studio. It's even escalated again when now there are dedicated people on film sets who are paid to create social media content throughout the duration of filming. It's a really smart concept because the months leading up to the production's release, they post hundreds of videos of the cast being relatable and fun. It's like they've cracked the code to getting Gen Z interested in their movie. What really sucks about this is that I feel like this type of promotion is bleeding into the films themselves. You can see how this type of mindset has shaped the films that are being made and how they're being made. Everything's becoming more surface level, more about the moment than the message, more about what's clippable than what's memorable. It's exhausting, it's depressing, and it's making the job of anyone who actually cares about film, journalism, or meaningful engagement feel feel increasingly impossible. How do you compete with an industry that values clicks over actual effort? So for me, it comes down to the question of, should influencers be in these spaces? Look, here's the thing, it's not as simple as just screaming no and moving on, because in theory, there is nothing wrong with giving people opportunities outside of the traditional media world. We don't need every interviewer to be a boring old-fashioned man with a clipboard. We need new voices and fresh perspectives. That's how industries evolve. In fact, there are so many influencers I know who are amazing interviewers. I mean, just look at people like Reese Feldman. He's one of the few TikTok creators who consistently interviews actors and filmmakers with real enthusiasm, genuine knowledge, and a clear love for cinema. Before he blew up on TikTok, Reese was working as an assistant on various different film sets where he would film his everyday things like going on a coffee run or taking out the trash. As his popularity grew, his job on these sets started to shift, and pretty soon he was in charge of making all the behind-the-scenes content. The difference is Reese has an actual passion for film and TV. He's not just some random reality TV star like Sam Thompson. He's professional, thoughtful, and it's clear he has a real passion for what he's doing, and that's what makes him stand out. Not all influencer-led interviews are bad. Not all viral moments are inherently stupid or shallow. There are people who have figured out how to operate in this new landscape without sacrificing thoughtfulness, originality, and basic respect for the people they're interviewing. And there's so many of these TikTokers who have a genuine love for film and TV, who take their time to research and study for the people they're interviewing. They're not putting the actors in these uncomfortable positions just to go viral, they're actually asking insightful questions and being respectful. And at some point, I would love the opportunity to do the same thing. I would love to sit down with an actor or the director and ask them genuine, deep questions about their craft and their time on the film. Right now, I am manifesting the chance to interview the people involved with the new Project Hail Mary film. It is based on my favorite book of all time, and judging by how the trailer looks, I think they did such an amazing job at bringing it to life, and I am so excited for it. My passion and my love for that book and now the movie is undescribable, and I am just putting it out there in the universe that I would get even the slightest opportunity of being involved. So no, the bottom line is that there is nothing wrong with some influencers doing press interviews. It's just that majority of them have no real interest in cinema and no understanding of interview etiquette. And I know that might sound a bit harsh, but is it really that unreasonable to want movie promotion to treat the art and the artist with just the slightest bit of dignity? Because when you strip away the celebrity glitz and the glamour, these are still real people. People who worked hard on something, who are exhausted flying from city to city, answering the same 5 questions over and over again. Do they really need to then sit through a TikToker asking them if they have Riz? I feel bad for the actors, I feel bad for the journalists, and most importantly, I feel bad for the people who watched this video and had to endure the cringe that we saw today. But ladies and gentlemen, that is the end of today's video. Thank you so much for watching. Let me know your thoughts down below on what you think about this whole new wave of influencer journalism, and if it's actually as bad as I've been making it sound. And if you made it this far, comment the word cinema so I can see who the real ones are and I can like your comments. Please don't forget to like and subscribe so you don't lose me in the algorithm, and I will see you in the next video. Bye!